So turn around and wave to Jeff. Awesome. You have a beautiful audience who just loved your film, and we were so inspired by your story. And Connie, I wanted to ask you first, how did you come up with the idea to do this story? What made you aware of Jeff?
Well, I've known Jeff for over 30 years, actually. We were friends for many years, and we dated a few different times. And when we were finally together, sort of permanently, as it turns out, in 2009, it'd been a few years, but a friend of ours approached Jeff and said, you know, we need to make a movie about your life. He's a family friend who'd known Jeff's parents and Jeff's family. And he'd been doing some work with Jeff on videos. He helped him make this movie, an instructional video called Clean Walls. And he said, we need to make this film, and he had a director, he had everything kind of organized. So we had our first production meeting, and it turned out that everybody had different ideas. And so then we set about, you know, the idea of making them. Because Jeff had retired. In 2008, he was told that he was going to die within a year or two, and so he had retired and closed down all of his projects. And then with this idea, he thought, well, you know, a year after he was told that, the next year they told him, oops, we're wrong. You don't have oligopontocerebellar atrophy. Your cerebellum is not shrinking, and we have no idea when you're going to die. We're going to call it an unknown neurodegenerative process. And so we thought, well, maybe we need to figure out if we can earn a living by making a movie. And so we did that, and over the course of the next 5 years, we had several different directors, different storylines. The film would stop completely when Jeff would get very ill. We would also stop when we'd run out of money. And so it kind of evolved, and one of the significant points in the film, I think, for me, was Jeff really wanted, he had made climbing films before. He didn't really want anything in the film about his illness. He didn't want any of his voice as it was then. He didn't want any shots of him in a wheelchair or a walker, nothing. He just, you know, he didn't want any kind of sympathy or pity. He just wanted his legacy. And I'm sitting there going, I don't think so. I think this is the story, and your climbing life has certainly informed and trained you, if you will, for what your life is now, but I think it's incredibly important. And so then slowly, he got on board with that, and it became a really important part of the story, and so we're really happy to share it, and we're delighted when people enjoy it and get something from it.
Jeff, what did you think of the film? Now, you've seen the finished product probably many times.
He likes it, and we always tell people when they ask about that is, you know, it was a true collaboration between Jim Aikman, our director, who was quite young. He started working on our film when he was 29, and he was 30-something when he finished, and maybe just 30, 31. And you know, if Jeff had been able to sit in the cutting room with him and edit with him, it would have been a very different film. And if I had been able to sit with Jim in the cutting room and edit it, it would have been a very different film. And if Jim didn't ever have to involve Jeff or I in anything that he ever cut, it would have been a very different film. And so it's a true collaboration, and I love that. I mean, there are still things I see in the film and I'm like, really? Like when that girl runs across the grass to see Jeff Lowe, and I'm like, really? And, you know, it's just so corny to me, but people tell me all the time, oh, no, it's great, it has to be in there. So, and I think Jeff does the same thing, and I'm sure Jim does too, and we just flat out say, no, you can't cut that scene, put that back, it has to be in there. So it's a labor of love, and, you know, eventually what happens is you get so tired of tweaking it, it's like, we're just done. I don't care if it's not perfect, it has to be done.
Raise your hands high if you have a question, and keep them raised so we can get to your microphone to you. Okay, right over there.
That early footage of Jeff you know, all those climbing experiences. Do some of the climbers with him take cameras along, or like video, or where did a lot of that come from?
Yeah, it came from exactly that. In fact, Jeff's brother, Greg, who is in the film, he took a lot of footage of Jeff climbing when Jeff was young and climbing. And Jeff's dad, I mean, that really early footage when they're little kids, Jeff's dad was quite avid about, you know, filming, even back in the 50s. So they kind of grew up with that idea. And then, of course, climbing partners. We have 15,000 photos, and not many that Jeff took. And of course, not many of those are of Jeff, because you don't photograph yourself. It's always the climbing partners who get the footage. And some of that footage is from films that were made, other films about Jeff.
What's the distribution path for the film?
I have been self-distributing the film, and we set up screenings all over the world. I invite any of you, if you have a club or an organization or a community or a college or high school that would like to see this film, that's what we do. And we would still we're still hoping that the film will get picked up by Netflix or, you know, other distribution. But so far that hasn't happened, and the beauty of that has been that we've been able to do this four-walling, they call it, and been able to raise some money. We're still raising money, we're still paying for the film, and I'll have a little commercial. We're selling the DVD if anybody wants to buy the DVD online at our website, and we have little metanoia water bottles with the iron fruit on the mountain, and, you know, we got cool stuff. So go to our website, it's jeffloweclimber.com. And yeah, we're excited. We're setting up, we have a screening in Manhattan, New York, at a Patagonia store in September. We'll be having screenings in Fort Collins soon, and also in Portland, Oregon, and in Skagit, Washington. I mean, they're really all over the world. We do screenings, and so we're happy to have people, you know, invite us.
And do you have another project you're thinking of or following up?
Yes, we are working on Jeff's biography. Will Gadd is doing that with Jeff, and so we're working on that hard. But really our main focus is still, we still have debt on the film, so our main focus still remains, as Jeff and Will work on that, I continue to work on getting the film out there, and it's still into film festivals. We were thrilled to be invited to come to Prescott, and I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there. But this is better, now you get Jeff too.
We have time for one more question.
I certainly hope Cross is disrespectful. Admired almost the fact that nobody's done it since. It speaks for itself. One part of the film, they said a lot of the climbers felt that if you went on the last expedition, you were going off to die. What do you feel about that?
It wasn't true at all. It was never in Jeff's mind. He said that he was taking a break, and for Jeff, anytime life got difficult for him to go on a long, hard climb, the harder the better, it was the best thing he could do to clear his head, and there was certainly a lot of chaos in his life and turmoil, and so for him, it was where he went to clear his head. He had no intention of dying, and I think that's how people often project and interpret other people's actions based on what they might be feeling. But Jeff is remarkable in his attitude, and I mean, quite often when you live with somebody who's quite popular, like Jeff is, people will say, "Oh, he's amazing, he's great," and the spouse is over there rolling their eyes, going, but I got to tell you, he is truly amazing on a daily basis. Can I tell a quick story?
Of course.
Okay. So, Jeff has always been very thinking outside the box and doing things people told him he couldn't do. And a couple of years ago, he was told that, he was going to die in a couple of weeks. He's been told this many times. Anyway, he said that he would be, he's on 18 liters per minute of oxygen. And I was worried about that. We had 3 huge tanks of liquid oxygen in our house. I'm thinking kaboom anytime somebody mistakenly lights a match, you know. And Jeff says to me, I'll take care of it. And I'm like, what do you mean I'll take care of it? He says, I'll take care of it. And I had to go to Telluride Mountain Film to do a little workshop about the making of our film. And when I got back, well, and also right before I left, the doctor said, you know, 2 weeks. He's gonna be gone within 2 weeks. So I'm like afraid to leave, but also feeling like I desperately needed a break. So I went. And while I was gone, Jeff started to wean himself off of oxygen. And by the time I got back, he was probably down to 8 or 10 liters per minute. And within a month, he was completely off supplemental oxygen during the day and only using 1 to 2 liters at night. And even after he did it, the doctor said it wasn't possible. That you can't be on oxygen for 2.5 years and then just decide, oh, I think I'll get off. And he did. And he just, you know, he continues to amaze. And, you know, now he's got the feeding tube and a tracheostomy. And, you know, he's living a truly altered life here. And he's funny, he's happy every day, he's cracking jokes. We just had a beautiful healing ceremony here yesterday, a couple of a medicine man and a medicine woman, and it was just powerful and beautiful. And, you know, we just are happy to be able to support Jeff in any way we can. That's another thing people can contribute to is we do have the Jeff Lowe, it's Jeffrey G. Lowe Special Needs Trust that people can contribute to support his home care. As many of you may know, in our country, to have someone chronically ill is horrifically expensive unless you know, put them in an institution. And with Jeff not being able to speak, you know, he's been in an institution a number of times and he always gets worse. This last time, he was in the hospital for 7 weeks and he lost 15 pounds. He had a latex allergy thing on his wristband, and what did they do? They use latex condom catheters now. Nobody's gonna think that was very comfortable. It was awful when I found that, you know? So we really want to keep him home. That's our greatest, fondest wish, is to keep Jeff at home until he is good and ready to pass on from this life. So we appreciate all the support. Even, you know, this film festival helps us a great deal. Just being out there and having more people see the film, that's really what we hope for.
Looks like we have one last question. Pardon? Is it on? This has been an incredible experience for all of us this afternoon. Thank you so much. Oxygen is such an important part of your life and the recent story just told. Did you have to learn how to live with depleted oxygen in your climbing? I noticed it wasn't mentioned in the film, and I don't believe you climbed with oxygen.
There is inherently some oxygen deprivation that you deal with when you climb at high altitude, and so he did deal with some of that. And so whether or not that prepared him, and, you know, of course now he has oxygen that keeps him at a normal level whenever he needs it. But the thing that Jeff is really, really good at is suffering. I mean, he really is. You know, when he had his tracheostomy, you know, he was in the hospital, he was intubated, and he wanted that thing off, and then he got the tracheostomy, and it was supposed to be better. He was really uncomfortable, and he was kind of frustrated and wanting it out of there. And I just said, Jeff, this is not that bad. Think about when you're on Makalu and there's this horrible storm, you get completely covered in an avalanche, you think you're smothered, and you've got a little tiny knife in your pocket by your chest, where your hand happens to be, so you dig yourself out for hours. You get out, it's a raging storm, you got no boots, no gloves, no jacket, no nothing. You gotta go back in the hole, get all that stuff, and then the wind's blowing so hard you can't breathe, so you have to chop a hole in the ice wall so you can put your head in it so you can breathe. And I said, this isn't as bad as that. and you don't have to hike the base camp. Jeff Gash and went, okay. So he wants me to convey to you that you can live your life based in fear, or you can live your life based in love. And as you can imagine, Jeff chose to live his life based in love. Love of the mountains, love of people, love of everything that he would encounter. And he learned to love challenge and difficulty. And it makes a huge difference every day with how he looks at things. And he really is a remarkable guy. I wish I were as positive. He's definitely more positive. I hang in there, and he reminds me, you know, he used to have this saying, you know, you're looking in the crevasse. You can't look in the crevasse. You got to look at where you're going. If you look in the crevasse, you'll end up in it. You got to look across.
Thank you so much for being here. You guys are absolutely delightful. It's a privilege to have your film and a privilege to have you come to speak with us. Thank you so much.